entered to the rank of the Artsy sister, and we're continuing with Saturnastra Lamina. This is chapter 12. This park in the municipality belonged to the noble family of Albion, and this noble family differed from the others by their silver hair, blue eyes, and fair complexions. And they always had delicate bodies, and yet they exhibited dexterity and enhanced physical strength and intellect. They claimed to be descendants of Silver Dragon, which was true, although the bloodline was extremely diluted. In fact, the fairies informed you that their first ancestor and his first two daughters were still alive and well, and each succeeding generation mated with humans until all the draconic traits were almost completely erased. And the family of Albion always ruled their municipality with fairness and justice, though at times it seemed cruel because of their inflexible nature. And this assured that there was peace and quiet in this municipality, and their values were reflected in this park, with the orderly geometrical arrangement of all the flowers, 3 artificial waterfalls, lakes and gardens, and open recreational spaces. And the places Irving liked to visit the most were the greenhouses, the open recreational spaces where the games would be set up, and the Maze of Thorns. The Maze of Thorns was the popular name of the small maze of only 50 yards in diameter. The joke of it being that one could not skip the yard due to the thorny bushes, and some strange fertilizers in the ground made the bushes take disproportionate sizes, and even the roses were as large as watermelons. And everyone would run through these areas with Irreron before tending to his animals, as he often done in the past. And Irreron would lecture him while they exercised to make certain everyone would not feel like he was falling behind. And while Irving ran about in the park, Irreron took a moment to sit down in a bench beneath the trees, and he spent some time watching you spar with Fiore. And Pretty Fighter always joined a crowd because it looked like a theater fighting. And as of late, you have started practicing in the park to make some extra cash. And being a natural showman, Fiore always made certain to do the pretty flashy moves to keep the crowd entranced. And this day you had made quite a bundle with your pupil, and it was a good thing too as well because you had already burned through half of the Bash Magos' funds. And even Aaron was starting to make bows and arrows on the side to make some spending money. And after finishing your routine, you give Fiore her packed lunch and plenty of water, and she sits beside Irreron to eat. And while eating, she asks, if various scenarios are so great, can you make one where time does not pass, and everyone can study there until he gets bored and not age or anything? And I think it will make it so soon that he will stop fussing about falling behind. Yes, Elias is still obsessed with his imaginary rivals, even though I told him many times that he's caught up with all of the others, said Irreron, shaking his head sadly. He used to be fun, and I don't like what he's becoming, and neither does Lamina, and she doesn't say anything because she knows she would only make things worse, says Fiore sadly. That is the curse of people like her, and she is after all not, and says Irreron when he stops and when he sees you glaring at him. Why do you insist on talking behind my back when you know I always find out one way or another what you're saying about me, you say, smiling cynically. There is another thing I heard about you people, your complete disregard for privacy, says Irreron, frowning. Chuckling, you say, privacy? Privacy is just an illusion, and there is always someone watching you, and just because you cannot perceive it does not mean that they are not there, judging you. Wow, so you mean there's always somebody watching me, babe, says Fiore, trembling. Shish, get over yourself, you big baby, you said, patting Fiore's head. Now you're gonna upset the girl, chastises Irreron, and Fiore takes out from her bag and her backpack her doll, and she hugs her tightly, and she quickly settles down and then says, so about the magic anti-time thingy, and why can't you make a bubble where time doesn't pass so that everyone can catch up with the others? In order for people to learn things, time has to pass, and you cannot learn anything if time is not moving, and human beings are only capable of perceiving time in one way only. And slowing it down or speeding it up would not help Irving one bit because he cannot help but see things the way that he does. It is the same thing with everyone, explained Irreron. While eating dessert, Fiore is quiet for some time, and then she says, my daughter wanted to know if you could make one of your other sort of training ground that imitates a fight with one of those so-called abandoned, which Irving keeps fussing about. It isn't wise to speak of those creatures so openly, once Irreron. It's fine, the city has wars and whatnot, and they can come in even if they want to, says Fiore, smiling. The wars may be working for now, but there's no guarantee that they won't be breached at some time tomorrow, for example, says Irreron. Wait, what? Says Fiore, turning pale. It isn't just that those things have severe power and they get ridiculously stronger each passing second, and that is why fights against them cannot last more than 10 minutes. And if the battle drags on too long, what was once killable becomes a nightmare. And like me, they are always listening and watching and waiting for a chance to strike. And I suggest for yourself, Fiore, you do not think or talk about them ever again. You are not magic like Irving. If they assimilate you, it will be like you never existed, you warn. Pause, Fiore. Don't worry, Fiore. Irreron has imprinted you with a powerful death curse, and you will be long dead before those monsters have a chance to assimilate you, you say, trying to reassure her. Gee, Sans, you shouldn't have gone through all of that trouble, remarks Fiore without much enthusiasm about the death curse. The years went by universally, and Irving was making something that could be called progress, and one day, much to his dismay, Irreron told him that he had taught him all he could, and Irving knew that Irreron was lying, but he assumed that he was just being cast out because of his imagined learning deficiency. And Irreron gave him 3 books and a belt with 10 crystals, and the crystals would capture magic around Irving, which he could use to amplify the strength of his own spells, and depending on the color of the crystal was the type of magic he could use, and the color had nothing to do with the type of magic, rather the color was mostly decorative as well as the rune pattern. And the crystals took forever to recharge, and noticing this, Irving wisely decided to save them for an emergency. And that same year, you upgrade Fiore's pretty armor, and she no longer had to use the training one, and the 2 pretty armors used poison spores trapped within the ribbons. And the user was naturally immune, but the enemy's senses could be slowly dulled, and if the enemy slides into the armor, it released a corrosive blood-looking acid that dulled the blade of any opponent. And the armor also acted like a strength suit, but only while its magic lasted. And against normal opponents, it could be used more often than a month, and if one needed an extra boost, the user's item shortened in exchange for an added half. The true armor was pink with longer ribbons and a larger decorative fake flower tied to the hair, and the flower absorbed local magic and fed it to the rest of the suit, and while leaving Irrison. The Batchmago says, I'm starting to understand why Irreron cut his lesson short. There is certainly a lot of birds out today, aren't they, says Irwin, laughing without much enthusiasm. And as for Shiota, she simply whimpered helplessly as she closed her eyes and covered her ears, and the ghost simply stared at it, surrounded with dismay. And eventually things settled down, and it was early spring, and you intend to enjoy your day, and you decide to travel in the direction of the northern kingdom towards Verageddon. And Irving was eager to be rejected by another teacher, and Verageddon only did practical magic, but so Irving figured he could at least master that type of magic. And close to summer, you get visited by a tiny dragon, and the dragon had a letter of invitation by a guy named Mildred. And you have never seen or spoken to Mildred, and the Batchmago is immediately suspicious of the letter, and he remarks, why would Bertha, Miss right-hand man, invite you to a masquerade, which, surprise, surprise, would be attended by the king himself? It could be a trap, commented Irwin, folding his arm. I agree, says Fiore. Well, the party was organized by my little brother, so we should be fine, and if anything happens, he will bail us out. Maybe, you say, smiling. I don't know, you had a brother, says the Batchmago. Why is that a surprise? You know I have a father, and why should it all be surprising that he has more than one child, you say, raising your voice. It is just that you never talk about your family, so I just assumed, says the Batchmago, fading away. Assume that I was the result of a magical experiment, and what if I am? Does that make me less of a person? Are you superior to me just because you were born, you say? And this saga continues for a couple of hours until the Batchmago is just this close to reincarnating and recovers quickly enough and then says, I'm sorry, alright? Let's just drop this subject already. And the next morning you spent it arguing about the pros and cons of going to the feudal or not, and based on observations provided by your little brother's entourage, the feudal was controlled by a mean brute of a man, and Duke Unhai was currently in hot water for tax evasion and creating 2 artificial famines and for housing an unregistered dragon. And the fact that Berthaman was there in the flesh meant that the Duke's days were numbered. And in the end you decided to throw caution to the wind, and parties organized by your little brothers were always pretty entertaining. And plus Irwin had never been to a masquerade, and he had the idea of dressing up in a costume and mingling with people that didn't know that he was poor. And Fiona had also never gone to one because of her age, and she welcomed the idea, and once it was all agreed, you add, masquerades have historically always been chaotic, and to avoid trouble it would be best if we stick together. Ah, boo, you're no fun, wife Fiona. And looking over her shoulder she asked, okay. And the Batchmago eyes, so the itinerary is this. We go there, eat food, gamble away your earnings, talk to this canon guy, see Lamina's brother Ahi, see Mildred, And then we go back to the inn around 10 p.m. Yeah, that seems about right, you say, nodding in response. And why can't we stay longer, asked Fiore? Because of the drunks, you explained. Oh, the drunks, said Fiore. And you start your journey towards Hernans, and the locals there are rather rugged, and from time to time you stop at a town for a few days before continuing. And in the town of Praga, the innkeeper and the other guests have been talking about non-stop about the Eye of Blood Red, and this is a name given to Jupiter. And its red spot is described as an eye, and every century or so when Jupiter is close to Saturn, it becomes visible as a planet instead of a distant speck in the sky. And for the people living in Saturnastra, Jupiter's presence is seen as a bad omen. Because of its red color, this planet has been associated with blood red, and during that time people refused to travel out of fear of running into the dreaded fiend. And as a shepherd, Irving had noticed the planet growing closer and closer and more defined, and he naturally had not heard of blood red, and neither had Fiore. And the subject was brought up in one of the roadside inns a few miles away from the former Fiore, and we were almost at our destination. And while Irving and Fiore were trying to sleep, Fiore asked, "Is blood red real?" "Yes, now go to sleep," you answer. And the Bashmago appears and says, "No, he isn't. Stop frightening the girl. There is no such thing as blood red." "Yes, there is, though he goes by the name of Bersamin now, you see." "Wait, what?" says the Bashmago, surprised. "Yes, Bersamin is blood red. And how can you not know that? He changed his name to Bersamin 200 years or so as part of a remarketing campaign. And he also took on a physical traits of the races of all of his underlings so that his men saw themselves in their leader," you explain, looking at the window. "And you take out your pet Sphynx rug and pet it lovingly, and you sigh silently as you know that the cracks increasing in size." I don't believe you really," said the Bashmago, still unconvinced. "And what's so hard to believe about my story? You would not follow into battle a small, skinny Arba with long red hair and crimson eyes, would you, you ask?" "No," says the Bashmago, losing his corporeal form, and he is remembering the classical depictions of blood red. And his new form makes him a lot weaker, and this makes his company feel that they are actually helping in some way. And the blood red was too strong, too otherworldly in his macabre frenzied dance, you explain. "From what I read, his new form is not much of an improvement," comments Fiore, closing her eyes to sleep. "And your group arrives to Ornaz 5 days before the party, and the inn is packed with visitors as well as the local nobles, and you're forced to camp out in the ruined temple with the traveling merchant performers, and it gives you enough time to have 2 outfit costumes made." And much to your dismay, Irving is dressing up like a little cliché with the emerald green mage robes and dainty embroidery of golden patterns with a leopard pelt tied to a belt and a white mask. And after looking at it closer, it reminds you of the robes you normally sport. And against his better judgment, Irving puts out his magical accoutrements. After all, the whole point of a masquerade is to dress up like something that you are not. And Fiore's Pena went on the opposite side, and she dressed in a black bullfighter outfit with a red sash and a rapier and a red cape too, and her mask had the resemblance of a red bull. All in all, the Bashmago hated what the kids were wearing. Then again, he always despised the liberties you offer your young companions. And as for you, you dress up in a feathery golden ballerina outfit with a slight white feather in the skirt and white shoes. And your hair you collect and comb up in a simple bun, and for your mask you wear a half-face mask that resembles a canary. And you head out with your group and close to sunset to the party, and the gala did not officially start until sunset. Still, they were allowing you to enter the ballroom early. And Irving had never been inside a citadel, and the first thing he knows is the stuffy, wet air that caused by poor ventilation. And the sensation was only in the narrow corridors that were still being repaired, and things were a lot better in the ballroom with its gorgeous decoration and stained glass windows. The music being played by the foreigners is unfamiliar to your companions, and the Bashmago had decided to maintain an incorporeal form to take in the sights without the hassle of having to talk to the living. And he always hated small talk in situations of this kind, and something in this orchestra drew his attention, and the Bashmago says, "What is a strange instrument?" "That thing is called a harp," you explain. "I see," says the Bashmago, going closer to take a look, and he points to another item and he asks, "And that piano-looking wooden thing?" One of the orchestra players says, "It is called a xylophone." "Oh, so you can see and hear me," asked the Bashmago. The musician says, "Unfortunately, yes, and I find you very distracting. Now choo-choo, you ghost." And somewhat deflated, the Bashmago returns to your side and will walking towards the food table with your children. You feel a slight tug at your dress that makes you stop. And Fiore too stops and turns around and followed by Irving when he finds When he finds himself a few paces away without his companion and raising an eyebrow, Irving comments, "The kid is eating the feathers of your dress." "Just a little bit and he will soon find something else that suits his unique appetite," you comment. After the masked child finishes eating some of your feathers, he goes off to the dinner table to bite off a piece of the table like an overgrown termite, and frowning the Bashmago asks, "Who the hell was that?" "My little brother," you respond. "A colorful character, isn't he?" says Irving, laughing nervously. "You had no idea," you say, chuckling. As the night progresses, the ballroom gets more crowded, and you spy from the corner that the man they call Mordred in his small human form. And your companions have a hard time believing that he is a dragon, and Fyodor asks, "In what way is that a dragon?" "From his tail, claws, and large wings, and the icy breath," you explain. "Why does he look like that, so tiny?" asks Irving. "For the same reason I wear my human skin today," you say, sighing with exasperation. And you look around in fright when you know that Fyodor's gone, and the fairies inform you that she's in the middle of the ballroom, and you go with Irving to fetch her, and she's staring straight up towards the roof, and from time to time the dancers bump into her, but she does not seem to mind. And Irving takes Fyodor's hand and rebukes, "Don't wander off like that. There's all sorts of drunken creeps that will do God knows what to you if they catch you." "It is almost hypnotic, don't you think?" comments Fyodor, still looking up. And Irving starts saying as his gaze faces outward, "And what is hypnotic? Oh, it is certainly a crowded party, isn't it?" "Just ignore them," you say, looking towards the dancer. "And that is easier said than done," says Fyodor, taking one last look at the cluster of 83 tiny blue flames and the large 5 semi-visible monstrosities. Scanning the guests, you see a strange mage user wearing an elegant black party mask, and you tell Irving, "Let's sit near that inconspicuous magic guy." "I don't want to be a bother," whines Irving. "It's fine, there are 3 empty seats, and we won't have to make small talk if we nibble on the food a bit," you say, walking towards the stranger. And while your group is a meter away from the masked man, Irving knows that his first crystal is finally showing signs of filling up and smiling. He says, "Oh, I hope he doesn't mind me taking a little bit of his magic." "Not if you draw too much attention to yourself," you whisper to him, narrowing your eyes. And you sit down beside the mage, and then with Irving sitting before him with Fyodor at his side, and Irving takes small bites of his hard bread while Fyodor simply limits herself to cutting up her food but not actually eating it. And the mage seems unaware of his surroundings, and he's absent-mindedly sipping his wine, and as he's struck by a sudden thought, he looks up and stares at Irving. And the masked mage narrows his eyes, and he said, "Irving, is that you?" "I'm sorry, mister, do I know you?" says Irving, not recognizing the voice. And Fyodor puts her hand to her forehead, and she says, frustrated, "Of course you don't know him, stupid. This is a masquerade." And at taking off his mask, the mage says, "At the time we met, I was but a mere servant in the Tower of Suberos, and even back then I wore a mask." And straining his memory, Irving folds his arms and looking up and frowns and then looks down before saying, "Yes, I remember you. I used to see you a lot in the stable, and the other servants and even the masters used to pick on you because they thought you were deformed." "They thought what?" says the mage in a harsh whisper. "What I mean is that, well, I never saw your face, so people wear masks for other reasons too, like if they want to hide their true identity. And I guess you were probably related to someone in the tower, and you did not want to be found out," explains Irving, shiftingly and comfortably in his seat. And Fyodor throws a pea at Irving's forehead using her fork, like one of those little green stuff. And chastising her, he says, "Don't play with your food, girl." "Well, I'm not hungry, so what else am I supposed to do at the table?" whines Fyodor. "There are game tables in the second floor. Perhaps you could grace me with a game of cards," suggests the maid. We don't really play cards games that much," says Fyodor, pouting. "And what games would you like to play instead?" asks Irving. Blind Man's Buff," suggests Fyodor. "I hate that game," says Irving, annoyed, and he hates it because he's always it, and Fyodor has a way of finding him even while blindfolded. "Put and take, maybe," asked the mage, and the game is apparently an excuse to speak to Irving for a longer period of time. "Now let's play background, and Preface Lamina does not allow us to gamble money," says Fyodor, getting up, and the mage follows along, and he leads us to the game room, and much to the mage's disappointment, he ends up playing with Fyodor. And Irving and you sit on the sides to watch the game, and while playing the game, the mage says, "You are a hard man to track down, Irving." "How so, and why were you looking for me?" asked Irving, looking about a bit paranoid. "Not really, I was just curious about you, and you're a bit of a novelty, being a wanted wizard who was expelled from the tower in disgrace, who is in his rage burned down a whole town and created a plague and murdered others of his kind," commented the mage. That never happened, and as for the town, it was more of a village, and it was an accident, and it's not my fault that the poor was so flammable. And it is amazing that it did not happen a lot sooner when Irving refuses to take responsibility for his actions. Way to take the blame, Irving, chuckles Fiore, rolling the dice. So you are not a self-taught necromancer either, asked the mage in disappointed tone. No, says Irving points at you and says, the dead people are with her. You truly can't do anything, can you? And I have hope, never mind. I believe introductions are wanted, and getting out the mage bows and then says, my name is Subetus, master of the tower. If I remember correctly, when we met before, and also your voice sounded differently, says Irving. Fiore gets up and points to Subetus. You are an imposter. Shame on you to pretend to be an all-powerful mage. We prefer the term wizard and are not pretending. Subetus is a name given to the master of the tower, explains Subetus, taking Fiore's arbor slightly, and he adds, so you are one of them? One of who? Inquired Fiore, rolling the dice. From time to time, I meet some people who insist on calling me mage instead of wizard, and even when I correct them or insist on having them call me wizard, they flat out refuse. And it is rather amusing just how such a little thing like a title inflames the passion of so many people. And truly, a mage, wizard, magicians, magos, etc. are just different names for the same thing, don't you think, comments Subetus? Maybe for you, but you have not been in the business long enough to know that each title means something different, says Irving. Oh really, and pray do tell, says Subetus sarcastically. I don't know, I just know that there's a difference, and my master Irreron explained this to me once, but it just felt like splitting hairs, says Irving, biting his lower lip. A strange silence followed, and even the darkness that looks over you grows still for a moment before continuing its frenzied dance, and Subetus then suddenly says something, remembering. There was a little boy asking for you, Lamina. Wait, was it someone I know, you ask? And Subetus looks over his shoulder and then nods, and he tells you. Not really, and it was a boy named Canon, and he has already left the party because he failed to find you. And like you said before, we are rather elusive, you say, smiling, and you add, so you did not just bring us here to have a little chat, and pray do tell, what is it that you want from us? I haven't decided yet, though I was thinking maybe as of late, and I am trying to fill up the tower with new members, and after an unfortunate incident, the tower became rather deserted, for lack of a better word, starts saying Subetus, measuring his words, and wish to bring a whole new level of academism to the tower. And we even have scholarship system for talented mage users who cannot afford their own education. And pray do tell us just how you funded your ambitious reconstruction project of the tower, if you don't mind, you ask Johnny. Alright, so this is like a good place to leave it. Bye bye and God bless.